everyone, in today's video, let's talk about what happens when you go on a vacation with a covert narcissist. And I'm going to be describing this to you by telling you my story of when I went on a vacation with a covert narcissist. Not my only one, but I went on a few. As you know, my ex-girlfriend, I had all these experiences with her, and they were quite, I guess, revealing to me. They helped me grow in life because, as you know, any negative situation that you go through can lead to personal growth, and that's a really good thing. So, like I said, I always want to take out the positive in stuff, and I'm going to tell you pretty much how this vacation came to be, everything that I was lied to about, and the gaslighting that I went through, and pretty much the whole roller coaster of emotions that happened because of this vacation that I went on. And the reason that I guess that this is coming to mind is just because, vacations are essentially a time when you're supposed to go out and really just be present, be in the moment, and enjoy what is going on. And one of the things that I talked about in my video on the 20 signs to identify a covert narcissist is how these special moments will essentially be ruined. They will find like special important days for you that will be ruined, and just certain stuff that ends up making you not have the best experience that you possibly could have because of everything that's going down. So let's get into the story. Real quick, I do just want to say thanks to everybody that's been signing up for the Patreon. As you know, I want to do this channel full time, and every Patreon supporter helps me do that. And as a thank you to all the new Patreon supporters that sign up, I send you a free Legend wristband. With that being said, let's get straight into the story. So essentially what was going on with this story is that I'm going to be telling you about is that I went on this vacation because there's a certain city that I wanted to visit, and I don't want to, give away too much because, respecting privacy and her privacy and whatnot. So there's a certain city that I've been, wanting to visit for a long time, even considering moving to. And I was told by this person, because she knew, this city kind of had some meaning for me, and it was somewhere that I wanted to go. She said she was actually going to go on vacation to this city because her friend had just given her a ticket to say thank you for, I believe, her birthday or something like it, or something along the lines. And so she told me that her friend bought her a last minute ticket to go to the city because her friend knew she wanted to travel and whatnot. So in 2 days she was going to be leaving to go to the weekend and spend the weekend in the city. And even though I got a half-hearted invitation to come to this city along and be a part of the vacation, but it didn't, you'll see in just a little bit why there was more than a couple days to plan for this. And it cracks me up thinking about it now because I'm just like, seriously, what the heck? So she told me, hey, random ticket, right? Which, first of all, can be kind of expensive. So maybe not the most logical choice right there, which was actually the first red flag that I caught on, because I'm like looking at the tickets to fly within just a couple of days. The prices are like 2 or 3 times what you would normally pay if you had just planned this out maybe a couple weeks in advance, if you know what I'm saying. And that's going to play a big part in this whole story. So she told me just random trip she's going to take down. 2 days go by, she flies down there, and I know that this city is a really big city, and there's dangerous parts to the city, and I'm partly aware of how beautiful it can be, but also how dangerous it can be. So I want this girl to be safe, and because I care about her, I've said many times, like, I truly genuinely love this girl, and I wanted her to be safe. So I even sent her this application to download. It's called Moonlight. If you ever feel like you're in danger, you can download this app, and you click it and it calls the police for you. It sends your location out to the people that you know, and your location to the police. The police will come and rescue you, help you out, whatever's going on. So I sent her this app, and she lands in this new city after flying. She lands there late Friday night, and she says an Uber is coming to pick her up, right? And so then she's in the Uber, and she sends me a Snapchat of her in the Uber, but she's sitting in the front seat of this Uber vehicle. And I think to myself, I'm like, hold on, I can count one time in my life that I've sat in the front seat of an Uber, actually twice, 2 times that I've sat in the front seat of an Uber when there was no other seat available for me to sit in. And especially when you're by yourself, usually you'll just sit in the back seat. Although, it's rare you can sit in the front, usually it's in the back. So, with that said, I asked her, I was like, oh, why are you in the front seat? She said she didn't know. That's okay, right? Nothing necessarily to think about there. As she's driving closer to her apartment, I give her a call just to make sure everything is going nice and smooth, and she denies the call and doesn't answer it. So then I'm starting to get a little bit of worry inside of me. I'm like, okay, it's like, is her Uber driver, a scary person? Is she safe? What is going on? I want to make sure she's safe. She doesn't answer. Then she texts me back saying, hold on, I'm grabbing my bags. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. She's busy. She can't answer. But then I get, a few minutes go by, I get another Snapchat, and she's still in the front seat of this Uber. And that's immediately when the things clicked for me. I was like, okay, so you're not getting your bags, so maybe you're lying about something. And additionally, now you're sitting in the front seat of the Uber, which doesn't really make a lot of sense. And having those two combinations made me feel like something was up. She's not actually in an Uber, and somebody picked her up. That was now my suspicion at this point, leading up to this point. So I was like, okay, are you actually in an Uber or not? And she says, yes, for sure. And I'm like, in this Uber. So then, a few more minutes go by. She doesn't answer my call again, and that's fine. And she, it goes up into her apartment, and she calls me back. She's like, oh my gosh, that took so long, whatever. She's like, I'm going to go out with my friends that are in the city. I'm going to change, and I'm going to go out. And I was sure, go have fun, go do your thing. I was like, as you know, I'm like thinking about moving to this city. Maybe I asked her, could you FaceTime me? I'd like to see your apartment, the Airbnb that you're staying at, because she had texted me a couple days before saying she bought herself an Airbnb in this city to stay in for the weekend. So I asked her, I was like, hey, could you show me the apartment? I'm considering moving down there. I'd like to see what the apartment looks like. She then goes, she says, sure, she'll FaceTime me so I can see what the apartments look like. 10 minutes go by, she doesn't FaceTime me. She actually sends me a picture of her walking out, a little Snapchat of her walking out of the apartment, and now I get a Snapchat and it says, oh, it looks like there's people staying at this Airbnb. And I think to myself, I'm like, wait, you said you bought yourself an Airbnb and you bought the entire apartment for yourself. And I was like, this story doesn't make sense either. And now you're telling me that there's people living there? I was like, you would know right from the get-go whether or not there's people living there. And I said, are you sure? You told me that you had the entire apartment for yourself. And then she said actually her friend bought this Airbnb for her. And I was like, wait, you didn't tell me that 2 days ago. So now you can see there's multiple things coming up in this story that are no longer starting to make sense, because now the story is starting to change. So now my suspicion is rising about what's going on. So then she says she's leaving, she's getting in the Uber again, and she sends me another Snapchat, and she's in the same car that she was in previously. I was like, and she told me the Uber driver waited for her while she changed, but she was changing for like 30 minutes. So I was like, again, this doesn't really make sense. I told her, I was like, hey, I really feel like, honestly, I'm being lied to. I feel like you're actually with someone and you just didn't want to tell me, and that's not, really cool. So I would actually just like to know the truth about what's going on. And so then she then doesn't talk to me for the next 2 or 3 hours, doesn't say anything at all, and I decide to go out with my friends because I'm feeling down. This isn't really the best strategy that I should to do, but like I kind of wanted to distract myself and just go out and have fun. It's Friday night, I wanted to go out and like be alive, I guess. So I go out and I'm doing my thing. She doesn't talk to me for 2, 3, 4 hours. And then finally, my phone starts blowing up. She's like, where are you? What are you doing? Why aren't you responding to me? When I had my phone on me the whole time, not to say, that, I was immediately responding to every text message I got because I was out with my friends, and also, she hadn't talked to me for a few hours anyway, so I wasn't really expecting any communication whatsoever. And essentially, we start getting into this conversation where I'm telling her, like, hey, I feel like something's off. You're not really communicating with me. And instead of being able to communicate about that issue, she tells me everything that I've ever done wrong in the relationship. And obviously, I'm not perfect, but it turned into this whole situation where now all of a sudden we're starting to deflect the issues that we've gone through. Instead of being able to talk about the present situation, why I feel weird that she's in another, state, another city, doing who knows what, and I have reasons to feel kind of weird about what's going on, it turns into this blaming fest about blaming me for everything I've messed up on. Of course I'm not perfect. Of course I have flaws and mistakes. But now we can't, instead of being able to talk about the issue that's at hand, we're talking about the past. So all the attention is on me all of a sudden. And I decide eventually I'm going to remove myself from the situation. I say, go have fun on your vacation. I don't want to make it, I don't want to ruin your vacation. You're out, you're doing your thing, and us communicating is not making it better. So I told her to go, have fun and experience life without, having this back and forth between us, because it was kind of obvious that she didn't really want to communicate with me. She didn't want to keep me in the loop. She didn't want to tell me what was going on because she ignored everything that I was asking her about. So I told her, I was like, you know what, just go have fun and we can figure it out at a later date. Then I get a text message where she buys her friend buys her another Airbnb. And even though her friend bought her an Airbnb, now it's in a terrible part of town that is very dangerous. I've been to this city and I know this part of town is very dangerous, and now I'm concerned for her safety because I'm like, why did your friend get you an Airbnb in this part of town when it's really not safe? And essentially now my radars are going off. I'm like, okay, this was the overprotective part in me. This is the part that really would get me into trouble. This is something that I talked about in my other videos where I'm like, should you help a narcissist when they ask for it? And there's something inside of me that knew that maybe I shouldn't have helped this person, but it was like, it triggered my need to like be helpful. And so all of a sudden now she's in this dangerous part of town and she calls me, she's crying, she's like, I don't feel safe, I don't like where I'm staying at, blah blah blah, etc. I told her, I was like, why did you even leave the first place to begin with if you said your friend bought you an Airbnb, which was kind of in a nice part of town? And then she told me, she didn't want that because she was like concerned about what I was thinking and whatnot, and like she just didn't want me to think negative of things. And I was like, okay, like I understand that, but if you weren't doing anything wrong, then you didn't need to leave. And additionally to that, why would you go to a terrible part of town? That doesn't even really make sense. So then I decide to go to this city as well. So I, pack my things, I go out to this city. Incredibly long trip to get there. It took me hours. Like it was an entire day of traveling to be able to get to this city where she's at. And once I arrived the next day, this is when all the good stuff starts happening, right? The next day I'm hanging out with her and we're talking about, stuff, the city, how cool it is and whatnot. And I begin to notice some more odd behavior. And I noticed that one of her friends, male friend, asked her to hang out, and she said that she couldn't because she was with her sister. And I told her, I was like, hold on, wait a second, I'm not your sister, you're not, and your sister is not here. So I was like, this isn't true, what is going on? Now you're lying, to this other person about what's actually going on. And essentially it was at that moment that things start to make sense, because then also I told her that she was staying in a very dangerous part of town, so I bought myself a different hotel to stay in a nice part of town, and I invited her to come with, and she asked me how she could cancel the previous Airbnb. And at that moment it again clicked. I was like, she told me that her friend bought her this Airbnb, and she actually even went as far as to send me text messages of her friend buying this Airbnb for her. And her friend didn't buy this Airbnb for her because it was on her application. So I was like, okay, now you're lying to this other person, and now you're telling me that your friend bought you these Airbnbs when they didn't. I was like, what's actually going on? The truth started coming out. She actually had fake text messages that she had her sister send to her, pretending to build up this story of her friend buying her last minute ticket. Nobody bought her a last minute ticket. Actually, she had showed me when she bought the ticket, and it was 2 weeks prior, and she bought it on her own with her own money, and nobody sent it for her. She had just faked the text messages to fake it to me, because she was worried. I guess she said she was worried about me, what I was thinking, right? But then she told me she was staying at an Airbnb. She was really staying at some guy's Airbnb. I've never met this man. I don't know what he's like. So that's what's going on. And this is the guy that actually picked her up from the airport. And this is why all of this was weirdly suspicious from begin with. And that's when everything started to click. And in the process of, figuring all this stuff out, I'm not going to lie to you, I was so sad. I even cried at the moment, because I had gone through a full day of gruesome traveling to get to this situation. And, part of it was I had the desire to go to that city and check it out, because I wanted to move there, and I still do want to move there. And the other part of it, was to help this girl out that called me crying, saying, she felt unsafe and whatnot. So it was like a two birds, one stone situation. So I decided to go down, and it just ended up being this terrible situation where now all of a sudden I had been lied to for the previous weeks. She was actually staying, at some guy's apartment, which, there's pretty reasonable cause to believe that they've been friends for a long time, and there was nothing, sexual in that interaction whatsoever. But still, it was offsetting. Why would you hide it? Why would you hide it to him? Why would you hide it to me? All of it was just weird. It made me not sad. I cried at the moment, honestly, and it sucked. And now, when I was trying to discuss these issues with her again, instead of being able to fully discuss the issue about what was going on, why I was feeling the way it felt, it turned into talking about me and the things I've done wrong in the relationship. And I was like, I told her, I was like, I can't even talk to you, because when I do talk to you, you just blame it on me. You blame it on me. You turn it on me. I was like, I understand that I've done things wrong in the relationship. And I feel like when there's time to discuss that, we should discuss it then in its entirety, and be able to dig into it and be in that situation as a whole. And right now we're dealing with this situation where I've been lied to for the past couple weeks, and now we're switching into another situation. I was like, we're never going to get this resolved if this is what keeps going down. And so being in this whole situation, it really sucked. It was really saddening for me, and it made me terribly sad. And then in addition to that, I told her how eventually I caught on to the whole truth about what was going on. And she continued to deny it, even though there was factual evidence in front of both of us. And this is where the gaslighting kicked in. And there was something inside me that said, I've been through this so many times. I know I'm being gaslighted. I know that this is wrong. I'm going to stick to trusting myself no matter what. And the more that I stuck to my truth about what I knew was actually going on, she actually started eventually to admit the truth, or slowly but surely. It was very rare for her to say, okay, I lied and this is actually what happened. She only did that at the very end, but at first it was like kind of chipping away at the block until finally I got the truth out of everything. And having gone through this whole situation, then I was stuck on this trip with this person for a couple more days, and I still said, I'm gonna make this the best trip I can, but this sucks, and essentially, I came out of the trip, it was fine, I still had a great time. Yeah, there's a little bit of pain there involved, I guess, but like, I'm not gonna lie to you, I obviously forgive the situation, because I'm not gonna hold on to anger in my heart, but I'm also not going to forget, and I'm not going to allow myself to continue to enter into that situation with that type of person ever again. And what I really learned the most out of the situation was, one, to trust myself more than anything, and two, to follow your gut when it's telling you something. And even in the face of gaslighting, because I used to fall for the gaslighting a lot, and I would say that this one experience that I had gone through was the one experience that had the most significant impact on me being able to overcome being gaslit by other people. And it was because the gaslighting was so strong in that situation, and I decided not to fall for it anymore and to just trust myself, that I feel like now I could always and forever confront gaslighting without abandoning myself and what my actual truth is. So really feel like I made this video today to let you know, first of all, if you're going on vacation with a narcissist, or if you have gone on one and you're kind of concerned about what's going to happen or how it can go down, I'm sharing my story with you because maybe there's a learning lesson in there for you. Obviously, I was lied to, and all that stuff, gaslit, deflected, many of the tactics used against me. But at the end of the day, I feel like if anything, I came out stronger because I took the positive lessons away from it. So this goes for any interaction with your relationship with a narcissist or a covert narcissist or whatever relationship you're dealing with. When you're in these situations, it's really important to trust yourself and to love yourself above all things and to follow your own truth and your joy. And I do think before I went, I prayed to God. I was like, hey, if this is the right decision for me to go down, please help it be clear to me that this is the right decision. And there was a very strong feeling for me that this was the right decision to go down. And I think part of the reason that I was supposed to go down was to see all of this truth come out and become stronger because of it. So as you go through these negative experiences in your life, don't forget that there's always a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. And there's something amazing to be learned through the most difficult of circumstances and, all the terrible things that can happen. So thank you so much for watching this video. I appreciate you guys. If you want to join the Patreon, I'm sending you a free Legend wristband for joining. You also get exclusive content. Thank you so much for watching. Hit subscribe. See you on the next one.